Hello and welcome to another edition of Video Games to the Max. I am your host, Sean Garmer, here with me as usual, Mr. Mark Morrison.
Howdy.
And this is episode 444 of the show. And, well, we've got a topic for you this week with, it being very close to when the Switch 2 is going to launch. We're going to do these next 2 weeks are going to be kind of Switch 2 heavy. So this week we're going to kind of do our look back on the Switch. Discuss our favorite games, anything about the Switch that, kind of stood out to us over the time. And then next week we'll do like a big, preview of the Switch 2. I'm going to have one at launch. So that, next Monday will be like Switch 2 launch week. So we'll get into that. And then, of course, we have other things. Marc has finally finished Clair Obscur Expedition 33.
Yep.
I've been playing a game that the embargo was finished today. It actually comes out the 29th. Nice day for fishing. I'll talk about that. And we will have some discussion on PlayStation Stars being finished. Xbox making a new addition to Game Pass of Retro Classics. More stuff on the Switch 2. The Elden Ring movie is real.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And we'll see if it actually, we'll talk about if it actually releases or not, and more right after this.
You are listening to Video Games to the Max.
All right. So, let's go ahead and get into the housekeeping here. So we can get that out of the way. If you are watching us live, you can do that every Monday around 9 o'clock. We were a little bit late today because there's I fell asleep essentially because there was no overtime today. So it happens. But hey, we were going. That's the important part. So, talking about what's available here on the network, let's discuss, Wireless Broadcasting, which actually right now is also doing their own show. They're reviewing the Mission Impossible movie. So, you can go if you care about Mission Impossible and watching all those movies, or you just like entertainment in general. They do a movie review pretty much every Monday, and then it's out there on demand on the YouTube channel, which is why you should subscribe, because you not only get what we do here, if you like other things that are not just video games, we got you covered there. They're talking movies. We got an anime show that does a great job of covering all the, newly released anime each season. Otaku Cafe, so definitely should go watch that as well. Or you can go listen to all those shows separately on podcasts, wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple, YouTube Music, iHeartRadio, all that, wherever it is. Just go search the names of those shows while you're broadcasting, Otaku Cafe, or just Video Games to the Max, and you can get whenever we do a show. Subscribe, follow, leave us a review there, and that'll help us out. And yeah, that's it. Let's go ahead and get on with the episode here.
Sure.
Marc, let's start with. We've always started with the games. You finally finished. You finished it now.
Yep.
And you got everybody like level 99 before you.
Oh yeah.
Before it ended.
That's really easy.
Why do you? So is there a trick to doing this grinding, or did it actually feel like a grind to you, or?
I mean, once you hit like level 90, it's a little grindy, just because there's only so many. Certain enemies are power. You can only certain enemies are that gives you experience at that point. Like you can't go back to like the lower area and grind it out. But no, that my Uber build works really well. If you can one shot anything, or if you can't, like the next time she's up, she can for sure because she knocked everything out most everything out the first time. So yeah, what do you want to know?
Well, I mean, I've been playing the game as well, so it's not. I just haven't been able to move anywhere because I've been having to make sure I could get through as much ninth day for fishing as possible since the embargo dropped today.
Right.
So I mean,
where are you?
I'm still in that same spot. I haven't played the game
Okay.
at all because I've been playing that. Did you do any, like, how much extra stuff do you do? Do you have any more?
I did everything.
You did everything. Okay, so
everything I could find. Yeah. So there's a few interesting boss fights. There's a big tower that's I think 11 floors, and there are 3 boss fights on every floor basically. So if you run through that, you'll get a lot of experience for it and a lot of good materials for upgrading weapons. There's one boss fight where it's basically 5 rooms, and you can only use one character per room. And once they're used, you can't use them again until you leave or until the thing's over. So that was interesting. Because I had to use characters that like Monaco and CL that I don't really use too often.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask you, what do you do with your party? Because I've been playing like I played Rebirth, where I switch out the characters pretty often.
I almost never do
constantly. Okay.
The only time I had to switch out really is a trophy to get all of Monaco's legs.
Okay, yeah.
And you get those for having him in your party when you beat certain enemies.
Right.
That was the only trophy that glitched on me also. Unfortunately. But yeah, I pretty much always had Mayel in my party, and I always had the guy.
Verso?
Yeah. Because I built him out so he can do like 9 different attacks that he had like no AP problem at all. Because he would attack and gain 4 AP from it, 4 to 5. So I'd use him as like a buffer, a Marc character, because I had like if you shoot an enemy, they would occasionally get marked, and everything else in between. So yeah, there are some like out in the world. There are some world bosses that you can kind of take on. They're like level 60 to 70, and then there are 2 like super bosses, or 2 to 3, I would say, but in like bespoke areas that are like actually tough.
Yeah.
That are like named and
where it says danger.
Well, no, not at a certain point you just go past that, but
right.
There's 2, Simon and then Clea. Those are like the 2 like the trophy ones.
Okay.
And they're not. I mean, where I was, they weren't that hard, but they, if we're trying to play the game straight, then they are.
Yeah.
I had 2 trophies I was worried about. One was the Monaco one, and what happened with that is I got all the legs, and the trophy didn't pop. And I was
no!
Am I missing something, or what the hell just happened?
Yeah.
And I like had some saves, and I reverted back to like an earlier save where I had to get like 3 of them. Got the 3 again, and it didn't happen again. And I tried it a 3rd time, and I was like, all right, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah.
And I noticed, because I'm still playing like the disc version, I didn't update it, and like there are like these weird colored icons next to like the leg, like the skill menu. And I was like, is there something with this? I asked like Reddit, and they're like, no, it's just like a visual glitch from version 1. I was like, all right. So I just quickly like upgraded to like the latest version, got the last leg I needed, and then it popped it once. And I was like, all right, cool. Then I deleted the update and deleted the save and reverted back to my old one.
Nice.
And the other one that I was worried about was there's a trophy to collect all the journals. I was able to do that, no problem. They were actually all where they said they would be, which is good. And there's one to collect all the records. That one, it thankfully didn't glitch. But it was different from like what you're playing, because there's like at least one merchant that sells a record that when I went to him he didn't. I was like, okay. And there are like there's some other version differences, like merchants selling things that they're either not supposed to, or they are and they just aren't, or the merchant isn't fucking there. And I was like, all right, that's cool. But when I beat the game, that record one popped because you get one right at the end of the game, and I was like, thank Christ, don't have to do this again.
Yeah. You're like, oh no, I don't want to keep doing this.
Right. Yeah, really good game. The story really wrapped up in a really good way. You go back to the starting town, and it's really awesome.
Oh, okay, that's great.
Yeah, and you get like all the performances are good. Yeah, I think it's a really solid game overall. I think what we were talking about last week. I think you do need, even if you just bump it down to easy. I think having the dodge and parry mechanic makes that game more unique than
Yeah.
just turn-based, JRPG based combat. Because to my mind, there are only 3 or 4 other games that really do this crap, and that's like Mario RPG, Legend of Dragoon, Shadow Hearts Covenant, and like Lost Odyssey. And that's about it. So I think having a more action but still turn-based system works better than this turn-based.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you should get back to it.
I definitely will. I'm probably gonna start writing the review either tonight or when we finish recording, or
right.
Tomorrow, since I have to work in the morning and then there's no overtime either, so I'll have that time to just write.
Right.
But yeah, so that's the only game you've been playing?
Yeah, I caught back up a little on like Diablo and all the other crap that I basically my network off for, but I'm not that into it, especially Diablo, just because they keep I think the game is partially bugged at this point, because you're supposed to get these basically these dungeon elixirs, and one used to drop and now it doesn't at all. And I was like, what happened? I like that one.
Yeah.
And no one has said anything, so I'm not like, what's going on here? And Infinity Nikki continues to be a dumpster fire at the moment, so
that's always nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
They put up a big apology saying oh, we know the last update didn't go well. It's like, yeah, it didn't.
All right. Well, yeah. So this game called Nice Day for Fishing had a trailer, I think, in the Galaxy Showcase that I talked about several weeks ago. And then when I saw it, I was like, are you kidding me? They have now made it whether that's 8-bit or 16-bit fishing RPG.
Right.
I so need to play this. So I actually got the code. It's funny because I got the code originally a couple weeks ago, and then last weekend, when I tried to put in the code in that Friday, so not this Friday, but last Friday, the code didn't work. It was an error. It kept saying that I had a game that had not been released yet. So they had to go bug Nintendo to make the code work.
Right.
So that, I could actually play it. So the first weekend I couldn't actually play it at all.
That's always fun.
So then I officially got to start playing, I think on Wednesday. And then, yeah, so I'm really not sure how long the game is, but I'm about halfway through, because one of the things in the game is it basically has a character that rewards you for catching all the fish in an area before so it's showing me that there's at least a couple more areas and so I think I'm about halfway, if not a little bit more than that.
Right.
The game is essentially it makes fun of RPG tropes, but also is very much a almost like an MMO-ish RPG where it's like, here's this quest, go do it. Here, NPC gives you another quest, go do it.
Yeah.
And it's like just keeps doing that over and over and over. It's almost like it's like doing it almost like a joke, but then it's also just that's the game. So it's from the a dev called Viva La Dirt. Team 17's the publisher. I think it's like $20, so it's not uber expensive either. It's on PlayStation, PC, and Switch, so not on Xbox at the moment. And yeah, I've been having a lot of fun with it. Like, I'm not a fishing person. Actually, I do live with there's a guy that stays that comes over quite often that does love to fish. So I showed him the game and he's like, okay, they actually try to make it like, sometimes, fishing when you're actually getting the fish is a fight or whatever. And that's how they replicate the battles. It's pretty much like you're essentially button mashing to the rhythm of like, oh, you're actually trying to get the fish out of the water with the hook or whatever. So, or the fishing line. So you're constantly, you're button mashing, and then it's the fish's turn to fight against you, and you have to try to block, and you can parry also. So it has a block and parry mechanic as well, even though obviously not anywhere near difficult as Expedition 33 or whatever, but it has one. Some of the fish can actually be a little bit difficult to parry because they try to go like with quick hits instead of like really long. So each fish has their own mechanic of how they dodge, how you do the block and the parry. It's the same button. It's still B, but you have to like guess, oh, are they gonna be the ones that take forever to show the block, or are they gonna be the ones that like try to do it really fast? So you got to figure that out. There's also they also try to make it easy for you. There's an item that you can get that essentially shows you when they're going to attack you, so you can block and parry if you want. You can also remove it if you don't want to use it to kind of make you guess more. So you can make the challenge as difficult as you want on that. I don't know if I didn't see any kind of difficulty option, so I don't know if they'll add one in eventually or whatever. This could easily get DLC if it does decently for them. But yeah, I've been enjoying it. Like it some of the gags that they do, like there's a gag where the guy, your blacksmith, keeps losing his hammer and you have to go like fish it out of a well or whatever. And they do it over and over and over, and it's like, okay, after the third or fourth one, it's like, okay, this isn't really funny anymore. It's just kind of like, all right. It literally takes like 10 seconds, but it's still like kind of like, okay, this is kind of silly. But some of the humor is funny, and I appreciate that they put that in there. I just enjoy like kind of going and fishing and getting the different fish, and essentially like I don't know if there's another area, but there's like two main areas, and you just get to keep going deeper and deeper and deeper, and that's how you find the fish. And then there's an other area that like you actually like platform and do whatever through. My only issue that I've had with the game, which I think part of it is, it's supposed to give you the experience of fishing, right? Like they're not going to have fast travel in a game where the point is for you to go through and experience what it would be as a fisherman, where you're going on the boat and you're getting the fish, and then you're having to go back and take the boat back and then going back to your land or whatever. So I kind of get that point, but sometimes I wish there was like a fast travel of how do I get to the other area, because it gets kind of annoying to go on one boat, go all the way to the end of the area, get on another boat to go to the area where you want to be in. It's like, yeah,
that should be represented by drinking.
Yeah, they could do like a loading screen with the guy drinking. They could do that. But no, I definitely think if you like RPGs and you're one of those people that likes you like playing RPGs in different settings, I think this is kind of it's a neat little indie game that lets you do fishing RPG, right? you're not really okay. So the mechanics don't really change much, which I think that kind of is an issue for people that play RPGs. Like it's a lot of the same over and over. But there is strategy to it, and you can make it harder and easier if you want. I think the style of it is matches that as well. Some of the characters are funny. You eventually get to the point where you get to upgrade the shops or whatever. So you have a woodsman that if you bring all these items to him, you can build the shops or whatnot. There, and you also don't run out of bait. Like the bait will just essentially just keep refreshing itself. If you stand there for like 20, 30 seconds, you can go get the worms or the garlic or the berries or whatever, because there's different fish like different things. So
Right.
So I like that part too. It's not like you're having to go farm all this stuff every time. It does it for you. You do have to go farm the supplies for the different upgrades for the buildings and stuff. So that can kind of get a bit cumbersome if you're not too into that part and you just want to get the upgrades. But you know, sometimes you got to work for stuff you want. But overall, like I said, I think it's I haven't really decided on a final rating for it yet. But it's definitely in that 7 to 8 range. I think I'm gonna see if I play more, maybe get to the end, what I'll think.
Remember that Golf Story game?
Yeah.
Sounds like that.
Yeah. They do live up to the fishing gimmick. Like they don't. There's a part where you platform, but it's not like he all of a sudden gets a sword and starts killing people. He is fishing the entire time. So I like the fact that they stayed on point.
Yeah, you gotta use a fishing pole like a hook shot.
Yeah, no, but I mean, it's not like they all of a sudden have you fight on land with the fishing hook or whatever. It's
right.
Everything you do has to do with either getting items that are replenishing, like the bait, or you have to go and fish for it. So they stay on it all the time. It's just how they mix that up. You know, it can kind of get it can get a little bit repetitive. So like that, I mean, also fishing is repetitive, but you know,
that's why the drinking. That's why the drinking is there,
right? So like that's part of it too. Is so your variance with that may vary. Some people may not ever get bored, and it's a 9 out of 10 game for you. And some people may kind of, again, this is why sometimes it's hard as a reviewer when you're having to like play the game faster than you normally would, because this is really a game that feels like it's meant to be played in spurts. It's not meant for you to play it for 10 hours. It feels like it's really meant for you to play to like 2 to 3 hours, whatever, stop, come and play again or whatever. It doesn't lend itself that well to playing overly long because, again, you're going to feel the repetition. But overall, I enjoyed my time with it. And I'm, again, always a good thing when you're reviewing a game that it winds up being an enjoyable experience and not something that like you're like, oh my God, why? You know? So always good for that. And I've been playing on Switch. So this might be my last new Switch game before I get to the Switch 2.
Well, I can no, just make it your first Switch 2 game.
That's going to be Xenoblade Chronicles X, I feel like. I think I'm just not going to touch that until Switch 2, which I don't know why they're not giving it that 60 frames per second patch that we know is there.
I may not need it.
Maybe not. I just, they have not said anything about that the system will update your games by itself, like that it's going to make the games run better by themselves. So we'll see. I'm wondering if we're going to get that surprise. So we'll talk about that later when we probably more so next week when we talk about like what we think, preview about the Switch 2 itself. But yeah, so that's it for playing games this week. I haven't played anything else except for that. So let's get into the news, and this is a kind of a much lighter news week. So it helps that we have the topic too, because there's not a lot. The two big news things for once in a lifetime, since we've done the show on Mondays, the two big news things that everybody's talking about, we essentially already talked about it because it came out before we did the show on Monday, which is very rare that happens. The Bungie thing with the stealing art and the Haven Studios thing with Fair Games and whether that's going to get
right.
So if you want to hear us talk about that, we did talk about that with Crafty on the previous episode of the show. So, but all right, let's get into the news here, and there's a little bit of everything from each of the big three. I guess let's go ahead and start with Xbox. They did reveal the Game Pass stuff for this coming 2 weeks of May, and they're getting some cool things, especially on the indie side, and then also a big, I don't know whether you consider AAA or AA, but a big game, more of that Sega Atlas partnership that they have. Metaphor ReFantazio is coming to Game Pass May 29th. So, and that's going to be out on everything, even Game Pass Standard. So if you have Xbox Game Pass and you have not played that game, you are missing out on an amazing experience. So definitely go and play that. If you didn't buy it on PlayStation last year or on PC, go check that thing out on Game Pass, man. Especially if you're getting done with Clair Obscur, this is the perfect game to go transition to. If you want to play like actual traditional turn-based, this is the game I feel like that is a great segue to that, of playing Clair Obscur and then going playing Metaphor ReFantazio. I think you're going to have an awesome time if you haven't played that game yet. And even if you have, that game's worth playing again. Obviously, can't do New Game Plus on if you don't have it there, but still.
All right.
Also, Tales of Kanzera Zhao is now available on Standard, along with Stalker 2 and Hellblade 2. Those are also on Standard now. Division 2 comes to Game Pass on all versions on May 27th. So basically, essentially, like tomorrow, the day you're hearing about, watching or listening to this. And then the bigger get, aside from Metaphor, is also Monster Train 2. That was Monster Train was one of those like hidden indie gems from a few years ago that I actually liked a lot on Game Pass. And now that you're getting Monster Train 2 day one, I think that's a pretty great get there. And then also To a T, another one of those Annapurna joints, which actually has a demo release today. So if you want to go check that out, you can. But that's also coming to Game Pass. So
a local store by me actually has that Annapurna PS4 collection for sale. Like
really?
The physical ones. Guess how much?
Yeah. How much?
$385.
Jesus. What? I mean, that is a lot of games, but still.
No, because that thing sold out like instantly, and they only made like 1,000 copies or like 2,000.
Oh,
very
okay.
Small
So
run.
it's a rarity thing. Okay.
Oh yeah.
And they also have a lot more games coming to the games you can play on cloud that weren't on cloud before, I guess. Or I don't know if this is like if you own them, you can buy them on cloud. I'm not sure. Or I mean, I'm sorry, if you own them, you can play them on cloud. I'm not sure. They don't really make a distinction here, but it's a lot of Double Fine stuff, Brutal Legend, Quest 2, all of that stuff.
Double Fine, so it makes sense.
And then SteamWorld Dig 2 is also on there, Super Lucky's Tale, that kind of thing. And then also should note that if you haven't played this game yet, Cassette Beast is an awesome Pokemon that's actually very unique from Pokemon. Like, okay, it has a lot of the Pokemon Red and Blue tropes, but it does them in their own way, and it has its own like little unique story and everything, and it leaves on May 31st. So if you have Game Pass and you've wanted to like maybe check this out, definitely worth giving it a shot if you like Pokemon.
Sure.
Also, Remnant 2 is leaving on the 31st as well. I know that's a game Mark will
that's good.
definitely champion there. Speaking of old games, we can go way back in the classics machine, all the way to the Atari 2600 and further days. As everybody's been asking, where's all the? I mean, this is probably not the Activision classic stuff you're talking about, but people have asked, where's that Activision classic library? And here we go. This is how it's being implemented into Game Pass. They have made a EA Play type deal with Ant Arcade, which, if you remember, I actually reviewed on the.
Yeah, you like that service or that? Yeah,
It's a service that you can, and it's on everything now. They've added it to PlayStation as well. That has like retro classics from old PC DOS games to 2600 to even Genesis, Nintendo, Super Nintendo, all that stuff. So it's worth checking out. And actually, right now, if you have Game Pass, you can get it for a whole year, the actual Ant Arcade thing, for $10. So, and if you like retro games at all, if you like those old school retro games, $10, that's nothing to play. And this is a service that they keep adding things to. They don't just stop at these games. They keep adding stuff. So I would definitely give a recommendation to people that love those retro old games. This is worth getting for $10 for a whole year. And they have an option. I don't know how much it is, and I don't know if it ever goes on sale, but they also have a lifetime option. The last time I ever looked at it, I think it was like $80 for a lifetime option. And we're talking about 1,000, like 500 games on there. That's well worth that if you're like a lover of classics that wants to be able to have classics at your disposal constantly. But either way, there's 61 games from the Activision in this, and they're available everywhere you can play Game Pass. So on cloud, on the smart TV apps, all that stuff, on PC, on the consoles. So like Pitfall's on there, Beam Rider, Baseball from the 2600 days. There's stuff from the PC DOS era. You know, there's a lot. You can go find even Zork. You can go find those on at the big list. So
these are all like Activision games, right?
Yeah, even the Mech Warrior games, the SNES and PlayStation Mech Warrior 1 and 2. Yeah, these are all Activision.
Where's the most important Activision?
And Blizzard. Sorry, Activision and Blizzard.
Where's the most important Activision game ever? Venetian Blinds for the Atari 2600.
It's on here, actually.
Damn well better be.
It is. It is on here. So there you go. They're apparently going to add more to make it to where it's up to 100. For now, I don't know if they're going to eventually make it to where there's non-Activision things that are going to come over from that service as well, like the EA Play kind of does, where they have stuff that maybe eventually they'll bring it in and it'll go away. I think they're kind of doing that as let's see if this actually gets used, and then they might do a bigger deal with Antstream where maybe they get the rights to other things that aren't just Activision Blizzard based, that they own, whatever. So it's cool. I mean, obviously, I'm sure this means that those games are also on Antstream Arcade without you having to have Game Pass. So again, another reason why I think that the deal for the $10 ends on June 4th. Like, if you really like these classic games, again, $10, it's worth it.
Do you remember Game Room for the Xbox 360?
Man, that's a long time ago. I know what you're talking about, but I don't think I ever used it.
Okay. Yeah, it's basically the same thing.
They did okay.
And I think Venetian Blinds was like one of like the last games they had on it too.
Oh, so they had something like this, but it was like an Xbox version of it instead of.
Yeah, it was on the 360. I think they had a PC version too, but that was even like less supported kind of. Yeah, you'd buy like old Atari and ColecoVision and crap like that, and then you can make your own like little virtual arcade with that stuff. So
yeah. I mean, again, like this is it's no joke that they keep like this is actually I wouldn't to be honest, like they are I think they added Disney game that like some of the Disney games like not too long ago.
Right.
They keep adding stuff to this. So like this you know.
I mean, I think they realize that like no one's going to pay for like the 50 Atari games for $25 anymore because, you know, people have already paid for that stuff so many other times. It's like, why, you know, why bother?
Oh no, you're right about that. Like I
Yeah.
think this is probably the best way to introduce this to people because it also has achievements and stuff like that. So if you're like one of those people that love to do achievements,
Right.
This is here for you. As a way to get, you know, cheap achievements. Those people that like to do that. But like this is like I said, they've been adding stuff constantly to it. So it's worth looking at if you're like one of those that like, man, I want this service, but like Game Pass and PS Plus don't work for me. I like the older games. This is kind of and you know, you don't have a Switch. This is a good way to get that. So moving on from that, also, PlayStation gets another one of the Xbox games pretty soon. Maybe not one that everybody's so super excited about or whatever, but Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 is going to come to PlayStation 5. There are going to be some updates that are going to premiere with the PlayStation 5 version that will come in a free patch for PC and Xbox. So, you know, get ready for that at some point. It is going to be PS5 Pro enhanced. So there's that, which, man, that game already looks beautiful. That's one thing you can't complain about this game. It looks amazing. So I can only imagine how much better it's going to look on PlayStation 5 Pro. And, you know, so
but
if you
play better and be more interesting.
Well, I mean, it's not, right?
Yeah.
It is that game. So I'm sure they will charge the full $50 for it. So, you know,
Right.
there's also that too. You're going to be paying $50 on PlayStation, whereas that 6 to 8 hour experience that was on Game Pass, not that much of a hurt.
Right.
It stung a lot more when it was like the only big game released that year for Xbox. That's what was the issue.
Yep.
Which isn't a problem so far this year because I'll put both of these together because they're both Bethesda things. Doom the Dark Ages hit 3 million players according to Bethesda. You know, we've seen Sony start using this metric as well. Ubisoft has been using the metric. So I mean, Xbox has kind of been the one that moved to it faster than anybody about. They aren't going to tell you about sales. They're going to tell you about how many people are playing the game. The Steam DB charts are not amazing for it. I think it hit like 31,000 or something like that, which isn't great. But also Doom is a game that this doesn't really have. It has a multiplayer mode, but they're really not talking about it. It's much more focused on the single player because, you know, as Crafty talked about last week, they really tried to put a story in this thing, even though, you know, it's not.
I mean, the past two have added also, so yeah, like.
But they really tried to push it with this one, and it's like, I don't know that I'm not coming to Doom for that, but it is what it is. I kind of saw a thing of like, I saw some people make a comment about how we've had other games hit that number in sales and people think that it's disappointing. And then this is being celebrated because it's 3 million players and most of it's on Game Pass, you know.
I mean, there's two things. One, I'm sure it is decent on Game Pass because it's like what new thing is on there.
Well, I mean, you have Clair Obscur you can still be playing. You have Oblivion, the remaster you can still be playing.
Clair Obscur, I mean, people have, you know, I would say that's much more like a, you know, PS5 game or, you know, a Sony game than.
But it's on Game Pass, like you can play it. So, you know, that's how I'm playing it.
Right. But also it's a matter of you know, different, you know, franchises work different or, you know, are on different scales.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
this is a game you could technically finish and then just not come back to it, right? It's
Right.
22 missions long. It's not short, I would say, by any means. There's a good chunk of time you're going to spend in this game, but it's
Yeah.
also not uber long either, right? So,
right.
because they focus so much on the story part of it, you could essentially finish this game and then just that's it, right? You stop playing.
Right.
So, that being said, I mentioned Oblivion just now because Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, a remaster that was shadow dropped at towards the end of April, is the best-selling game for the month.
Proving yet again people are idiots.
No, I mean, I think it's also it's nostalgia, right? It's nostalgia is
Well,
a beast.
okay. Oblivion is the best-selling game for May. Now imagine this scenario. What if Bethesda remade a good Elder Scrolls game like Morrowind?
I feel like
Think
we
about
have
how
a
many more that would
better.
sell.
I feel like we have a better shot of them remaking
Skyrim again.
Skyrim again
Yeah.
than them doing that, man. Like, I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, it gives a lot more credence to the idea that they're going to, remake, or not them specifically, but some developers going to remake Fallout 3. Which, yeah, I could see it happening, especially now. Like, and especially if they can get it out the door by December.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely Fallout 3. That's happening. Also interesting that this is where. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, you are right though about nostalgia. Like, I talked to my downstairs neighbor, and she was like, "Oh, she's not really a gamer. Like, she dabbles occasionally, but she was like, oh yeah, I want to play Oblivion Remastered, but my boyfriend's old gaming laptop won't handle it." And I was like, okay, like.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
if she gets Game Pass, she could play with the cloud, and I'm sure it'll play fine.
She's not going to do that crap.
Yeah.
She doesn't care that much.
Yeah,
but yeah, because I'm sure. Yeah, she only kind of plays this Elder Scrolls games, so it's been a while.
Yeah. I will say, like, I think I mentioned it. I don't know, a couple of times. I don't know. I know I probably said it once, but I did play Clair Obscur a few times on my girlfriend's Chromebook. Using cloud through the browser, and yes, there's some lag, but I was able to dodge and parry in the game.
Were you playing on normal, easy, or hard?
I wasn't playing on expert like you, but I was
Right.
playing on normal. I haven't played the game on easy at all. So, but it does work. Like, I feel like the cloud's gotten a lot better. And she doesn't have like super fast. Xfinity, I think, bumped their base internet for everybody to like 100 megs.
Right.
But I have a gig at my house. She has 100 megs, so there is a difference in the quality of the cloud there. I didn't really have a problem that much with it, so if she wanted to play Oblivion Remaster, it probably would work just fine. But just to keep on with this, this is where Satya Nadella got the info for what they got to tout at their this earnings report about them being the top publisher on PlayStation. Forza Horizon 5 was number 42 and went to number 2 thanks to just the PlayStation 5 and Steam sales. And then Indiana Jones and the Great Circle was at 118 and went to 6th based off of those sales. I'm just happy that Indiana Jones is getting bought by people. And Disney was right to wait it out. They said that they want to do more with the game or with the series, but they were waiting on those PlayStation and Steam numbers. And here we go. It looks like it's doing well. We'll see if any of that holds for next month. Oblivion was obviously number 1, thanks to being those same sales. MLB The Show 25, which is on all consoles, is number 3. Minecraft is number 4 because of the movie and Assassin's Creed Shadows is holding firm at 5, and Black Ops 6 is down all the way at number 7. Still some good numbers. Monster Hunter Wilds is still hanging in there at 11. Split Fiction's still there at 12. So some of the games that have come out this year still hanging around, which is good to know for those games. Even Elden Ring is still hanging around at 18. So
sure.
And I think PlayStation, those numbers are a little. I think there's 4 of those 5 games that are in the top 7 or so, which is crazy. And then looking at the whole year, it's still Monster Hunter Wilds 1 and 2 so far through May 3rd. But then Elder Scrolls Oblivion Remaster is number 3 on that list. And then MLB The Show, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, and Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, which, hey, that's good for them. So, yeah, I mean, crazy to think. Obviously, it helps that those are kind of the like big releases so far, and they've lived out to that. Kind of sucks to see that, like, I guess they were Clair Obscur sales were not enough to even put it in here, but also I think Xbox digital sales data is not counted, even though I imagine that not a lot of the people that bought it on Xbox are playing it on Game Pass. But still, they sold 2 million, and for that to be an indie team, although I'm sure their budget was bigger than an indie studio because they had all those contractors and stuff like that.
Right.
Hey, still good for them, right? I think Matt Pizzatella says that they're like around 24th or something like that if they're looking at it from all that, but they're not in the top 10, top 15 or whatnot. So
yeah,
which, hey, still cool, right? Still good for them that they're even in all of that. But all right, moving on to the PlayStation side of things here. Talked about them getting Hellblade 2. Also, PlayStation Stars is done.
Yep.
PlayStation Stars itself will replace the old rewards program that they used to have. But this was only available to the PlayStation app. You could not, they never integrated it with the console, which is weird.
Right. Which is why I never signed up for it.
I was going to ask you if you were using it or not. You can no longer sign up as of November 2nd, 2020. Okay, so you can't sign up at all. Like, Marc could not sign up now. And as of November 2nd, 2026, I don't know why they're taking a whole year and a half to remove it.
Right.
But as of November 2nd, 2026, it will fully end. They kind of make mention that this is not like the end. Something else is going to replace it. They just don't know what that is right now. I don't know why you couldn't just keep this going until that thing comes that's going to replace it. But
I mean, the obvious thing is no one. I mean, you were using it barely.
Yes, and also you can continue earning points up to July 23rd, 2025. Just to say, I did get $40 out of it, so I got to pay PlayStation Plus for 2 months for free.
But that's the thing is I mean, I can't imagine the adoption rate for this thing was big. I mean,
yeah, because it was stuck on the app, and they didn't want you to know it existed. Essentially,
yeah, I'd guess under 10%, probably even under 5%,
probably.
So,
but I bet if they would have done it like Microsoft does, where anything you do on the console, eventually they do have stuff that works with the console, right? Where like there's certain games you could play or whatever that worked with it. It wasn't things you played. That's a thing too. It really didn't have much to do with you playing anything. It had to do with you buying only. Right. So like if you bought, like when I bought Stellar Blade, because I bought it at launch, they gave me a bunch of points. Right. And then I bought some other game that was also like, if you bought both of these games at once, you would have got a bunch more stars or something like that. And it's like, okay. Whereas like Microsoft's program is tiered into getting you points. So like it's a lot harder than it used to be. You used to be able to. There was people that basically kept re-upping on Game Pass every month by playing Game Pass games. Essentially, you still get points for playing Game Pass games and all that stuff. I do it all the time. You get 10 points, I think, for like pushing a button on the app every day. Like, but PlayStation Stars, it almost felt like they kind of had it there for you to just, okay, if you know about it, cool. If you don't, we don't really care because essentially we're just giving you free money. So we really don't want you to do that.
A lot of those Sony stuff that are like half in and half out. Like they don't fully commit to it, and then it inevitably fails, and then they go, we'll bring back something later. It's like, A, no, you won't, and then B, even if you do, it's going to be even worse than the thing that just failed. So why even
Yeah,
try?
the Overwars program wasn't that great either.
Right.
Pinball Village that made a comment on YouTube here. I was just talking. We're talking about PlayStation Stars eventually fully ending on November 2nd, 2026. That's what's going away. So
bring that
PlayStation
home.
I saw people talking about that. It's like, for people that like to chill in spaces now, I wonder if like they were just kind of ahead of their time. They need to
and missing content and having
that too, but still. Sony also is, what do you know? It's June, people, and there's going to be a gaming showcase. Yeah, right. But no, honestly, Sony's been doing a state of play like for the last couple of years, like around this week. Actually, they usually don't wait until Summer Game Fest starts. They usually try to have it be like the week before, so that they're kind of the one that starts the showcases, and they kind of get their own time. So I wonder if they're just going to they do this a lot where it gets rumored, and then they just randomly announce it, and then it's like the next day or whatever, like kind of like Nintendo does. They don't do the thing like Xbox where they give you like a whole month and whatever to tell you that the showcase is happening. They kind of just go on, all right, this is not going to be a big deal, so hey, it's happening, whatever. And Jeff Grubb says that it's most likely a state of play, not a showcase, so take that what you will. Sometimes they announce big things, like they have announced, like they announced Ghost of Yotei on one very recently, and then they did show off Sorrows, that new Housemarque game on one as well. So they may not have enough for a showcase right now because, a lot of the games that they've been having are the live service stuff. But still,
I expect they're to show off Interstellar gameplay.
Interstellar? What?
Well, not Interstellar, whatever the hell that Naughty Dog thing is.
Right. Intergalactic. Okay.
That was close.
You think they're that close to showing off gameplay for that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe not like a 20-minute showpiece or anything, but they'll at least show like somewhat realistic looking gameplay enough. It may not be like the finished HUD or anything, but it may, you hunting down some robot or some criminal or whatever, like, or just doing some side mission.
Yeah. I would hope that since Death Stranding is coming out like next month, Death Stranding 2 is coming out next month, they're not going to show too much.
They always got. No, that'll be for the summer
Game Fest thing.
Yeah. Because Jeff always has to put Hideo in because he.
Right. They're the best friends.
Right.
I'm sure we'll get something with Ghost of Yotei since that's coming out in October, and this might be the last time they really get to. I mean, they do use state of plays for individual games. The way they announced Soros, I feel like they're not going to show anything.
Right.
But maybe we can finally get Wolverine. You think, or
no?
Like we've heard nothing since that leak, man. Like this would be the time. Show something from Wolverine.
I was legitimately shocked that they had a state of play about Borderlands 4. It's like, really? This is the game you want to
Man,
hold up.
I mean, I don't know. They made a marketing deal. Maybe they had to include Borderlands 4 in order to get like GTA 6 marketing deals.
Right.
Thank you for that segue, by the way.
Yep.
Because Randy Pitchford once again cannot help himself.
Everyone's favorite. Man of the people.
And not be the center of saying something stupid.
Right.
So that PR gets really like I can only imagine like PR sitting there going, why do you even answer questions? Like why do you even answer people on social media? Like,
right.
You know, if anybody needs to learn to like put an away message on their social media, it's Randy Pitchford, because anytime this dude speaks, it's like, oh my God, somebody has to go run a defense campaign off of what he just said. So if you don't, listen, pay attention to the news at all. Somebody asked him, he's talking about Borderlands 4 coming to Switch 2, right? And somebody says, yo, Randy, you better not make this game $80. Not everybody is going to be okay with that. And we're not going to pay the price, right?
Right.
And he answers, which he could have just answered, not my call. That's it. Don't say anything else. Just shut up right there. And then he has to keep on and go, if you're a real fan, you'll find a way to make it happen. My local game store had Starflight for Sega Genesis for $80 in 1991. And I was just out of high school working minimum wage, which I think was like $4 at the time. An ice cream parlor in Pismo Beach, and I found a way to make it happen. And shut up! Like, why? Why say anything? I don't know, man. It's just like he can't help himself. So what?
I mean, I see his sentiment somewhat.
Yeah,
like if there was a new Xenoblade Chronicles game that came out tomorrow, there's $100. You'd rush up to the store and buy it immediately.
Yeah, I found a way to make it happen. But obviously nowadays we have way more ways to make it happen than even then back then. So I think his point is even more valid. But you don't need to say the part about being a true fan. I think when it comes to monetary stuff, we don't need to be telling anybody how to spend their money at all in this climate.
There's two other things. First of all, like Randy didn't like pull himself up from his bootstraps. Like his dad worked for like an intelligence agency, and
but we don't know. Like, my dad kind of my dad was a doctor. I didn't have to worry about stuff when I was a kid, but when I became an adult, my dad cut the thing off. I literally had no income and I had to figure it out. Like, it was not, whatever. So like maybe his dad did the same thing for him. We don't know, but you're right about he didn't start from absolutely nothing either.
He went to UCLA. Like,
yeah,
believe me, I'm sure that was paid for, if not
fully, I'm sure. But if he's saying fresh out of college, like maybe again, once college got done, we don't know what happened there. But I agree with you in that he didn't have to worry about too much most of the time.
And thirdly, I would say, what about the true fans who saw the movie?
Those are the real fans. Those are the real true fans right there, right? Like if you really are a Borderlands fan to the point where you watch that terrible movie, God, heaven help you.
Speaking of which, this is somewhat related, but I saw this was like on Twitter like a week ago.
Yeah.
There's some Dextro article about like Borderlands has sold 93 million copies, like franchise wise.
Yeah.
And that Borderlands 2 has sold 30 million copies. And some guy tweeted, he said it as a joke. He's like, "Oh, they should make another one of those." Borderlands 4. And my comment to him was, they should make another movie instead. And he liked it.
Yeah.
Good on him. And I didn't know who this guy was, and I clicked his profile. He was the narrative director at Gearbox.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, hey, now that they don't have
humor.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Randy just needs to. They just need to like It's the same thing that like Tesla used to do with Elon Musk. Just put him in like a fake boardroom or like a fake press room and have him rant and have the cameras powered on but not connected to anything, and then say whatever bullshit he wants to no one, and everyone else can just go on with their jobs.
Yeah, I just wonder, like, if somebody eventually got to Randy and we're like, "What did you say now, dude? What did you say now?"
Here's the thing, like, I mean, I'm sure they could fire him.
No,
or,
they're not gonna fire him for that.
No, I said I'm sure they could.
Yeah.
But that someone clearly likes him or clearly has some use for him. So
To be fair, like, if Borderlands 4 goes out and sells well, I mean, dude's earning his keep, right? Like,
I think it'll do okay.
Yeah.
But I think the zeitgeist of that franchise is kind of over. And I think it's just like Borderlands 1 came out, Borderlands 2 kind of shot up, and then 3 pre-sequel and Tiny Tina's bullshit. It's just been like a slow decline.
Yeah, Tiny Tina's had a mixed audience for sure. There's a lot of people that like that game a lot, and there's people that just didn't like it. And then 3 just had the thing where they came out and said we're not going to be overdoing it so much on the references and all that stuff to get.
It's like that's like the worst one. So
well, like, that's the point. They're not going to overdo it with 4 for that.
Because, right?
Yeah. People didn't like it. So.
But it's the same people in charge of writing, the same sensibilities. So
yeah,
that's what I'm kind of dreading. And so I like claptrap in it. So it's like, oh god.
Speaking of franchises, lots of I had no idea that there was this groundswell of people playing Battlefront 2, Star Wars Battlefront 2, I should say, all of a sudden. And apparently some former devs of the game have said that they're now they would really like to make Battlefront 3 and have a chance at redemption, because we know what happened with Battlefront 2, where that was the height of loot box,
right?
All that stuff.
Chicanery.
Just people absolutely hating loot boxes and all that stuff, and just them monetizing it to hell and back because it was Star Wars, to the point where they had to take the game down.
Right. They had like rebalanced the economy and made it kind of worse.
Yeah. And then, it kind of really, really lost its luster after that, because Disney even got on to EA about like, yo, how did you screw this up so bad?
Yeah.
Because they had no idea. I think that most people didn't even know that this stuff was in the game.
It was a perfect storm, because EA was trying to make money off cosmetics, but like Disney wouldn't let them make cosmetics, or like make like canon breaking cosmetics and crap like that.
Right.
It's like, okay,
it was
Darth Vader's helmet looks
it was the definition of pay to win.
Yeah, or like Darth Vader's helmet looks slightly different. It has like one more line on it, and it's like, oh, this is $10 or whatever. It's like, no.
Yeah.
I mean, the reason it's popping off is because of Fortnite, because they bolted in characters from Star Wars characters into that. They shouldn't make another one.
But you think, like, with all this stuff about like, we talked about Sony's live service thing last week and how that's not popping off for them outside of Helldivers 2, and then even Helldivers Team. I wonder if there's something to that, or they just decided that they wanted to move away from Sony. But like, interesting that Arrowhead just was like, we're not going to work with Sony on our next game like that, the way they work with Helldivers 2.
Right.
And it's like, I wonder if EA and all of their, they're still wanting so many live service. All their sports games have live service elements to them. Almost, they're still pumping out mobile games trying to get monetization and all that stuff. Do you think that they could, if somebody convinces somebody, like, you think it could work? Like, bring back Star Wars and do this? Like, it's not like people didn't like the game. It's just that loot boxes and all that crap ruined it.
I mean, even like the problem with Battlefront specifically is like this really large market of that fan base that likes the old ones. So
Yeah,
I'd be
the
more
original
interested.
Battlefront.
Yeah, like the
Yeah.
I forget the studio, the Saboteur guys. Forget the name of
Oh
them.
yeah. Okay, I know what you're talking about.
Because there is like a leaked version of their Battlefront 2 from like 20 years ago, floating around. That was like way more impressive than what came out as actually Battlefront 2.
Yeah.
But I think there is kind of I don't want to say a need, but people like that type of gameplay, but it's very shallow and very like I don't mean the gameplay itself is shallow, but like the audience is shallow for it. Like look at like Unreal Tournament when they tried to bring that back, and it was a boondoggle, and they
Oh
quickly
yeah,
went
that
away.
was that.
Like I would like a good like arena based shooter like that. Like Unreal Tournament or Quake 3 or something that's like arcadey.
Yeah, a lot of people have been
and,
telling id should go and try to do something with Quake now that they're
right.
done with Doom
But like
for a while.
I don't trust them because I think the markets have changed so much from that. That
Right.
like the audience just isn't like. I mean, what was it? Boss Key when Cliff was still making games. Like that was like that one that he tried to make and it failed, and Next Week's failed, and most of these things fail. So I think
Yeah.
there could be a market for like a Battlefront game, but I just don't see EA doing it, and I don't see. I mean, it'd have to be like some small team that's just
Yeah,
like
I mean
total.
they pretty much have to like sacrifice Battlefield again,
Right.
right? To be able to do that because there'd be a lot of those same people.
Right.
Um,
And they don't own, they'd have to share marketing dollars with Star Wars or
well, I
Disney,
mean
and they're not going
they,
to do
they
that.
they don't have a problem with it because they're doing that strategy game and they're still doing Jedi
Right.
Survivor
But that's like
3.
a whole separate thing.
Yeah.
Like you just said, like they don't have to pull away from their own, battlefield itself. So
Yeah, I mean, with the way Disney has that deal with Epic or whatever right now for Fortnite,
right.
it wouldn't totally surprise me if somebody's like watching that and somebody at EA is maybe thinking about it because like this is what EA loves. They love getting a game that people are excited about and they're gonna play, and it's like especially if Battlefield like bombs or something, and they
Right.
basically get the definitive like, okay, people don't care about this franchise, it's done. What can we do with that team? Like I could see a Star Wars Battlefront 3 maybe not doing a Marvel Rivals type like, oh my god, it is the game now.
Right.
But I could see it making a comeback. Like I could see people really getting excited about that. So I'm not gonna rule it out. I'm not gonna rule out that a Star Wars Battlefront 3 could happen at some point, especially if Battlefield, whatever the heck this game is called. Which look, I don't want that to happen because that means people are gonna probably lose jobs. But if Battlefield for some reason doesn't do well, I could see it happening for sure.
If a Battlefront 3 is made, how many celebrity or how many of the actors do you think they rope into it?
I mean, some of these actors are getting kind of really old.
No, but it's voice acting.
Yeah.
So they can rope in I forget her goddamn name.
The
Bo-Katan, Reese, or I forget
yeah,
Katie Sackhoff, and
they could get I can't remember her name or the girl that plays Rey.
Right.
Yeah.
Daisy Ridley, I think.
Yeah, they could get Daisy Ridley and to do all that.
Right. I mean, that was the thing with the last one. Is like they couldn't really do it because they couldn't get Han Solo. They can't get Harrison Ford.
Right.
But like, hey, just you don't need him.
I mean, now you could get Troy Baker to do Harrison Ford. So
yeah,
like, they can find ways around it, maybe, or they could just not have him talk.
Right. Well, I mean, they have to have him talk a little, like grunting, or they got to sell talent pack somewhere. So
right. But okay. Moving on from that, just to get to a few more things we talk about Nintendo and leading into
Right.
our main topic. Embracer Group, who
They're still around.
well, they are, because Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is doing really well.
Right.
But they once again are. I thought we were done talking about their studios and the makeup of it and whatever, and then like out of the blue, they are once again like doing something with this three-headed monster of groups that they assembled last year, which they split Asmodee to the tabletop people.
One is like the Lord of the Rings group. Also.
Yeah, the Lord of the Rings group, and then Coffee Stain was doing all like the indie ones.
Yeah.
So now Coffee Stain and Friends, which hilarious that that's still the name, is going to officially become its own indie standalone group, like away from Embracer.
Right.
So I guess to hopefully get some of that Embracer name off of them and kind of be able to do their own like publishing and all that stuff. Coffee Stain was supposed to focus on PC, console, and mobile games, including community-driven free-to-play games, live ops, the indie AA space, essentially.
Yeah.
So, they're kind of, I guess this is Embracer's way of like not having to officially like sell them, but also like, I guess divest from them a little bit. The Middle Earth and Friends is officially now called Fellowship Entertainment, and will basically essentially handle everything that's not indie. So a huge amount of studios. We're talking about Aspire, Crystal Dynamics, Limited Run, Dark Horse, Warhorse Studios, the people that made Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, that PlayOn, that's also a publisher, Tripwire, that does Killing Floor, which they have Killing Floor 3 coming soon, if not out already, and like Metro, they just had that VR game not too long ago. So there's quite a bit there. I can't really talk about what this really does aside from, okay, I guess cool that they gave it an official name this time instead of Lord of the Rings and Friends or whatever, Middle Earth and Friends or whatever.
Gandalf and his buddies.
Yeah, that. But sure, okay. I mean, this is cool for Embracer. Again, I don't think we're gonna really know what this means for a while. So, but
once they make another Gollum game, everything will be all right.
Yeah, for sure. And last thing here, before we get to talk about Nintendo, just because this is, I guess, officially the first time we've had a From Software like Souls-like this that is really, really heavily beloved, getting difficulty options. I'm not sure if Remnant 2 also has that.
What?
But
difficulty options?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so I guess they're not the first ones, but like they're kind of making a big deal of it because it's the way that this is built, it gets a lot of Liza P gets a lot of talk towards like Bloodborne and
right
things like that. So in this update that they're doing, there's going to be new difficulty options called Butterfly's Guidance and Awakened Puppet. They're going to be added in a patch alongside the DLC, the Liza P Overture, that's coming. The default difficulty is going to be called Legendary Stalker now, whatever. As somebody that does play these games, do you think what do you think about this? Like, is this them like copping out, or you think this is a good thing to let you?
No, I think it's good.
Yeah.
I mean, like Jens would say it's bad, but he's like, I mean, like the diehard purists are always like, get good or just get better, and it's like,
Yeah.
I don't got 1,000 hours to devote to this damn game, you know?
Right.
So yeah, I think it's good. People should people should I mean, I don't think it's bad that a developer would say, here's how we want to play it, or here's how we want you to play it. But like having options is always a nice thing.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that as well. Like, Clair Obscur
Right.
could have easily, because they are aping the that kind of like the same difficulty structure in the dodge and parry, they could have easily said, hey, there's only one difficulty mode, right? And unfortunately, you're going to have to get good or whatever, right?
Right.
But they didn't do that. And in fact, like, let you change the difficulty whenever you want, which I always think is positive,
And,
right?
and it doesn't tie into the trophies. It's not like, oh, you got to beat the game on normal and then hard or anything like that.
Yeah, I love it. I really hate when they do that. Like, it's all, I understand. Okay, cool. You want to have a trophy for people that want to play it on hard mode or whatever, but I don't feel like that needs to be included into the platinum or whatnot. Like, that's one of the things that people made a big deal about Rebirth. Like, you have to play so many of those things on the mini games on hard or whatever to be able to get the platinum, and people couldn't stand it. So like, it's good to me. I think it's a good thing. Look, if Miyazaki never wants to add difficulty options to the actual FromSoft games, I don't think that's a bad thing either. The developers should have be able to make their own decision. Does it hurt the game? No. Because who gives a shit about gamer cred at the end of the day? Nobody. Because at the end of the day, nobody's going to remember any of that crap. Like,
yeah,
you can use it as hey, I beat it. And if you want to beat it on normal, man. But I don't think it's bad, because as we talked about with Crafty last week, and he said that it did happen for him this week, where he kind of used easy as training mode,
right?
So that he could play it on normal and beat the boss on normal that he couldn't beat, because he was able to get better at the dodge and parry. And I don't think that that's wrong. That's also kind of getting good, but in a different way. Now, there's levels to it, and I'm sure, considering how NeoWiz has handled Liza P overall, I don't think they're gonna make it like gosh darn easy either, but I think they're going to be able to make it easier for you to
get into, or
they're not going to make it harder. For the whole point is to kind of ease you into the experience, and that's good,
right?
So so let's go ahead and get into Nintendo here, since it kind of leads into our wait, one more, since we're talking about that. Elden Ring is officially getting that movie. I will we have somebody asking us in the comments of a Nintendo question. We'll get to that in just a second. Elden Ring is getting this movie with A24 and Alice Garland, who's he just teamed up again to do the 28 Years Later movie, which is coming out pretty soon. And Danny Boyle directed that movie, so he has history with that franchise. He's also like wrote and directed Civil War, which came out last year.
Yeah, he's in some things. I have nothing against Danny Boyle, or
and you like Enslaved, Odysseys of the West, which he co-wrote, and also did some supervisory stuff with DMC, which you liked.
As a writer, he's fine.
Yeah.
This movie will never come out.
You don't think so? Even with, well, obviously we have the king of never come out with George R. Martin attached.
Right. That's one problem.
But you know what? He does. He's bad about writing his books, but when it comes to like whatever he does with other stuff, he's great about that.
You mean the
right?
shit that like doesn't matter or shouldn't matter to him, but
Like,
it makes him a bigger celebrity, so that's why he does it.
is that of course, because we know that book's going to come out, and the people that read the books are going to love it, but that's probably still not going to get into the zeitgeist
No,
or whatever.
you,
They finally
you're
wrote that book.
wrong. That book is never coming out. Like, full
Okay,
stop.
fair enough. But
Like,
anyway, A24 is also attached, and Bandai Namco, and I'm sure Bandai Namco wants this movie to come out because they want to make money. They want to keep making. I don't know how many people don't own Elden Ring at this point, but
I mean, it's a few things. First of all, like I said, that movie's never, or the book's never coming out. I don't see A24 putting in a huge budget for this. Personally,
I mean
they're like they should, or I think it's like a property that demands it, kind of. But
Bandai Namco's also putting some money in here too. It's not like it's just them.
Another problem is like, what's the story?
I would assume it's its own story, right? Like it's its own origin story of.
No, because like Elden Ring doesn't have a story. I mean, people say it has a story. It does not have a story.
That's the thing too, right? You're not going to be able to do this like lore drop thing like you do in the game. You're going to have to actually give people a story, and you're not going to be able to interact with it the same way where you get to go and do whatever you want. That you have to lead the people through the story.
I want there to be like,
what's up, Kev?
A 15-minute scene in the movie where it's just like the main character breaking pots over and over. He can get the one fucking material he needs. Craft a better weapon.
Like, obviously, Night Rain's coming out this year too, so this kind of adds to that.
Right. Let me ask you this: what do you think the odds are this thing actually comes out?
I think with Miyazaki tied to it as well, with GRR, I think it will come out. Maybe it gets delayed or something like that, but I think it will come out because I don't think Miyazaki's going to waste his time away from doing stuff away from the series for a movie that doesn't come out. Like that doesn't make any sense to me. So I don't know. Yeah, I know you're stuck on the
reality.
Yeah, I know you're stuck on that, but yeah. So we'll see if it does come out or not. But thank you, Kev, for getting us into talking about our main topic here, which is Switch. Again, we're doing like a 2-part looking back at Switch 1 and then also getting ready for Switch 2 with, the show's going to come out during the launch week. I do have a pre-order, so I'm ready for Thursday. So far, Walmart says they're going to switch it. They're going to ship it to me on this. I'm supposed to be getting it by June 5th. So
I might have a pre-order. We'll see.
And Ashley is right that Sony is making that Zelda live action movie. But just so, even though this wasn't on the docket, Ashley does ask, why do people hate Nintendo so much? Most gamers prefer PS, Xbox, or PC. Would you agree?
Have you looked at sales figures? Or
I don't think so here's the thing. Like, I think it's just the loud people online. A lot of people online like to talk and say that they hate Nintendo, but they hate. It's almost like a love-hate.
Right.
They hate, but then they go and buy the games that they hate so much.
Well, Nintendo is missing some key game types, or mature games or games of that ilk. But
yeah,
there are a lot of
they're
kids in
getting
the
that for third party. They got The Witcher 3. They got Doom Eternal last time. They're getting Cyberpunk at launch.
Those don't count.
Cyberpunk counts. They're getting that at launch.
I'm talking about like Nintendo made games.
But Nintendo's not going to do that. That's not part of their.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, you're making my point.
But that's why you think people hate them, is they don't do mature games?
Because I'm thinking of think of like Asmongold, or like simply like YouTube
she brings up Asmongold.
Yeah, he's never gonna like a Nintendo game because not enough women, or the big boobed women. They're too quote unquote easy. They don't appeal to his warrior sensibilities. I mean, Nintendo games are fun and colorful and charming. Everything he's not. So
Yeah. To be fair, Dunkey, that's his whole point, is to make fun of things. So it's like almost at some points with Dunkey, you just like never know if he's being serious or he's just doing it because it's going to get him attention, right? Whereas
right.
Asmongold, I don't know either. He's also very you know, I agree with Kev. Why can't we just all love every console?
Because
I'm
there's some bad consoles out there.
I mean, yeah, but I own all the consoles. You know, you just don't own an Xbox, but you have the others.
Right.
And to be fair, you don't really need to own one when you have a PC. So, you know, that's Xbox's problem anyway. But let's like kind of go backwards, I guess, in time. Back when I got my I got my Switch One on launch day, when Walmart was still
Good.
when Walmart still had the 24-hour thing, when they were open, okay, at midnight before the pandemic, where they, even though there was a lot of Walmarts that were already going to start going and closing at 11 or whatever, or closing at 12. They were starting to kind of ease out of the whole being open 24 hours, but there were still a lot of them. And I had one in my area. I had two in my area actually that were open 24 hours. I went into one like at 11:45 and kind of waited around. And at 12:01, they start putting out the. I've been able to pre-order like a couple of days before, actually, because Walmart had done like some crazy like pre-orders at the last minute. But it was cool because I literally got to stand there, watch them put it out, and then I walked up and been like, "Oh, can I buy one?" And they said, "Do you have a pre-order?" I said, I do, but are you also going to put some out for people that didn't pre-order? And they said, "Yeah, but we're going to make sure we honor the pre-orders first."
Right.
So I had to tell them I was canceling my pre-order in order to buy the one there at the store.
Yep.
But they let me buy it, so I walked off with an SD card, I don't remember. I think it's the 256 gig SD card that I have, and Breath of the Wild, physical, one of the only few physical games that I have for Switch, and the console. So yeah, I've had mine since launch. It still works. The only thing is I dropped it once and it doesn't have a screen protector, so I do have like this little blue mark on the screen that won't go away when I play in handheld. But hey, it still works, although it sucks because I've never gotten to get some of that awesome battery life that the new version of Switch One eventually got. But I guess that prepares me for what the Switch 2 is going to be, because it's apparently going to have worse battery life than the first one. But I love my Switch. Like I said, I've been playing Nice Day for Fishing on Switch. To me, Switch is a great console. It's something that I think I never knew I wanted until it came out. And now it's like I can never think about going back to only playing handheld. I want the handheld to be able to go into my TV if I want to, even though most of the time I do play the thing handheld. Look, I think it's not as great graphics wise as the Steam Deck, but I think for all the stuff that's come out with the Switch, it's an awesome thing. And I'm glad to see Nintendo is still going to be continuing the Switch on with the second one. What did you think about like the Switch when it was first going to come out? And do you you own one as well? I know you don't use it as much, but where are you with the Switch one as far as your thoughts on it?
I don't really remember it coming out. I think I got mine like a year later for like a birthday present from a friend. But it's like still one of the like launch ones, or like still like really early on. I think it's fine. I think it's only good for like indies and Nintendo games. So you go and like, Doom 3 or Doom, whatever the hell Doom is on there.
Doom Eternal, yeah.
Like the mature games, they're like, no, those don't count because those are better on literally anything else.
But if you don't own anything but a Switch, which there are a lot of people that do,
oh well,
you can play those. Yeah,
I mean, save it for something better.
Yeah, no, but I don't look. Well, you're doing the Randy Pitchford thing right now? What?
Well, playing a heavily
Okay.
compromised version of something isn't exactly like a fun or good experience.
Right, but okay, the teenager doesn't have a way to get their own income, and they want to play Doom, and the Switch is what they have. I mean,
sell the Switch and get a PS4.
fine, but don't do that, people. Don't do that. You're missing out on a lot of games that you can't play on the PS4. But still, I agree with you. I use it a lot for indies. That's what I play most of it on. Just because Nintendo games never go down on sale, so I end up not getting a lot of them. Only the ones that I really, really want. Like Mark mentioned, the Xenoblades and that type game. And there's I don't really want to bring this up because it's just some rumor that is being floated by people that are not. There's a stupid rumor that's been going around. I saw like on Facebook and other places of like Hiroki Totoki apparently says something about PS gamers are going to have to get used to. They're also going multi-platform or whatever. No. That is absolute BS until I see it. Until I actually see them announce it. I don't believe it.
I can see really small shit going multi-platform, like that Lego Horizon game. But
to me, that one doesn't even count because it's a Sony property, but it's not a Sony game. It's being made by somebody else. They probably said, "Hey, we need this to be on Switch because it's not going to sell," and it still didn't sell.
Right? Yeah.
Well. So
for everyone.
Until we have an action, until I see The Last of Us, not even Spider-Man, because I can see Disney saying they need Spider-Man on Switch too or whatever, doing Indiana Jones type of thing. I'm talking about if a Sony game, like I'm talking about Last of Us, complete, God of War, whatever, shows up on Nintendo, I won't believe it. So, to me, it's still a bunch of crap because, look, I get it. They have a lot of games that were supposed to come out with live service that are not doing well, and they need to increase that income somewhere. But I see them, if they do anything, I can see them do day one PC before they ever put a bunch of their big games on Nintendo.
Right.
Now, would they be more willing to work with Nintendo than Xbox? Yeah. Would they put their games on Switch too before they ever put them on Xbox? Yes. Because they're both Japanese. I could see them, even though Sony has that bad blood with Nintendo from back in the day, they've apparently mended fences in all those years from then. Most of those people are not even really around anymore to even know that really happened, aside from the history books, essentially. But that stuff's not that is just absolute made up bullcrap from people that are just trying to stir the pot of console war BS, which I don't really like talking on here because we're here to celebrate games, and I'll mention it sometimes, but it's just really not worth getting into until somebody from Sony officially says, we're putting 4 games on Nintendo Switch and we'll see how it goes. Because I wouldn't be surprised at all if it's similar to Microsoft's opening strategy of we're going to put some games and see how it goes. They're not going to all of a sudden go, we're putting all of our games on Switch too now. That's not happening. Right. But anyway, going back to so when you were thinking about your, and I don't know if you have honorable mentions or whatever too, but when you were thinking about your top Switch games, when you think about your time of playing Switch games, what stands out to you as far as games you got to play or whatever before just going through your list? Because I know there's games that you don't, maybe not necessarily your favorites, but you feel okay, definitely gotta check this out. If you're buying a Switch 2 and you didn't have a Switch 1 at all, what's something you'd say you have to play?
I don't know. I mean, it's just on my list, Nintendo stuff, and then a few indies. Then
was it hard for you to come up with the 10 or you already had?
The bottom it was, because the Switch does have a lot of crap on it. And I didn't want to do multi-platform, or at least like I'm not gonna put like
Not
Hades
from the
on my
major
list.
ones, right? Oh, like see, I did put Hades on mine, but that's
No.
so I want to give a caveat to the way I did this is you can do it as all exclusives. You can do it as just your what you think are the 10 best games on Switch. You can do it as games that you played a lot on Switch that maybe are multi-platform. So like that's why Hades is there for me, because that's how I played that game. I didn't play it on anything else but Switch.
Right.
So for me, it is a Switch game, even though yes, it's on other things. Right.
I played it on PC when it came out. Like,
yeah,
if it had come out on the Switch first, then I would have. I wouldn't have made my list, but that would have been better. But it hits PC and Switch at the same time, so no. Like The Tourist made my list, and that's because it hit Switch first. That's what I initially played it on.
Right. That makes sense. Like, well, it was on what PC in early access for a while, and then Hades, and then it came to Switch first as the first console, and then it came to everything else. So like,
no, it hit Switch first.
Okay, but it was on PC in early access first, right?
It doesn't say, but even if that's the case, like it came out like a year on the Switch before PC or like Windows, the official Windows release. So I wouldn't count that at all.
All right. But all right. What do you have any honorable mentions? Or?
No, I just did 10.
All right, you just did 10. Okay. My honorable mentions really quick are just because I kind of want to not like have a bunch of the same games.
Right.
Xenoblade Definitive 1, the definitive one, the first one, and then 2. I haven't really gotten to play X, but I'm pretty sure Chronicles X would probably be on there as well. I have it. I played a little bit of it. It's just other stuff came out around the same time, and I never got back to it. But I will when Switch 2 comes out, because besides Mario Kart World, there's nothing I'm buying until maybe Donkey Kong, if not even further. Also, we talk about Sony. Nintendo is apparently having a Switch 2 Direct right after the console comes out, which is no brainer because they always have a Direct in June. The people that have been saying that they don't think anything's happening, it's like, guys, they have a whole year left of things that they have to fill out the year with. So definitely they are going to have another Direct, because it can't just be two. Yes, Metro Prime 4, Pokemon ZA are two big games, but those are also coming to Switch 1. Right now, Donkey Kong Bonanza and Mario Kart World are like the only two big games that we have announced at all for Nintendo. So they definitely got to get something going, and having it right after the console launches is perfect, because people buy that system, or the people that haven't bought the system yet, you can show them, oh yeah, look at all this stuff that's coming, whether it's in this year or early next year. Oh, this is why you need to buy it, because they're definitely going to get you ready for the holiday season when they have more stock again, and they're going to want you to buy that system for the holidays. So, yeah, so like I said, the Xenoblade series is the rest of the Xenoblade series, except for 3, which is actually on my list, are my honorable mentions. What's your, I guess, number 10 through 8 or whatever? And you
My
can
number
talk
10
about
is
them however you want.
No, my number 10 is Kirby, Forgotten Land.
Okay.
Number 9 is Live Alive. And number
Live
8 was number 8 was Bayonetta 2.
All right. Any of those that you like really have a thought
Live Alive is
on?
cool.
Or?
I mean, it's a remake of that SNES one that never came out, and it's on other systems now. But when it first hit, it was only on Switch, and yeah, really interesting RPG.
Yeah, I love the fact that exists, and that we can play it it's
Right.
awesome that was revived and you can check that out.
I mean, I have a SNES translation, one English translation of the SNES version, and yeah,
Right.
they really recaptured it. So
Yeah, they did a fantastic job of that game.
Yep.
Big credit to them for that. My number 10 is Hades. Like I said, it's not a Nintendo game, but played the crap out of it on the Switch. Love that game. I don't really do roguelikes that much, so that game obviously one of the best ones ever.
right.
But for sure. Number 9, Dragon Quest 11. I did play it on PlayStation, but Switch had the best version for a long time.
Right.
And I played a lot of it on Switch, and it's one of the best Dragon Quest games ever. So, definitely, if you, for some reason you haven't checked it out, I definitely would.
Right.
Like, I think after those two, that's when it became like difficult for me because I didn't want to do too many of the same like franchise because I wasn't a fan, like, and I know you weren't either. Like, that's something I think we're both going to share, that people are probably going to be very upset when you're looking about. We're talking about, obviously, like I said, best Switch games for us. When you do best lists, there's always it's subjective, so
Right.
people get upset. But both of us are not fans of the 3D Zelda. As far
Right.
as like Tears of the Kingdom and
Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Wild. So I'll be surprised if it's on there for you at all, but it's not for me.
Right.
Also number 8, I had to have this in here somewhere. Because I bought it on Switch, I played it on Switch. I know it's on PlayStation, but Theater Rhythm, Final Fantasy, I bought all the DLC. That game, I sunk so many freaking hours into that game. Love the crap out of it. Still, sometimes we'll go back to it to play games. I still have the 3DS versions over there in that corner on the shelf. So yeah, it's for me. It's a game I really loved on the Switch. So,
Sure.
What is your 7 through 5?
My number 7 was Mario RPG.
Yeah, love that game too.
My number 6 was Smash Bros. Ultimate. And number 5 was the only good Zelda game, Cadence of Hyrule.
Cadence of Hyrule is fun.
Yeah.
I reviewed that. Their newest game, Rift of the Necrodancer, from that team. Well, yeah, that game was, and it was difficult too. That was no joke. So
right. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be hard for me to top Ultimate or Smash Brothers Ultimate. So
yeah, that's going to be an interesting one. Like, what do they do with Smash Bros. Ultimate?
Make it open world.
Right. Yeah, I mean, hey, they did it for Mario Kart.
Yeah, exactly.
Do they add like an RPG type, like actual like story mode to the thing?
That's the thing. I didn't like Ultimate Story Mode at all. That board game bullshit. It's like, this is way too big and involved. And
oh yeah, I felt like it took forever. I was just like, okay.
Yeah. So I'd be happy. I mean, it'd be funny if they did like a Mortal Kombat style story mode, but just have like a simple 5 or 6 fight story mode, and that'd be it.
Yeah.
I think it's speaking of Mortal Kombat real quick. I think it's funny people are outraged that Mortal Kombat's one support is ending. It's like, yo, that game is old and didn't do too well. So what do you expect?
Definitely. Not kidding there with that. My number 7 is Astral Chain.
Yeah.
That game is awesome. I wish more people would have bought it because it really should be one of those like platinum games that we talk about in the same vein as, some of the story is kind of like, whatever, but I love the gameplay in that freaking game, and it should be up there in like the platinum like echelon of games. Like, I wish there was talk of an Astral Chain 2 coming out or whatever.
It's weird because the Switch had some like theoretically good games on it, but like they just didn't hit. Like Astral Chain is one. Tokyo Mirage Sessions. I mean, I think that was a Wii U game initially, but it got
the
ported to
remaster,
Switch,
the remaster of that. Yeah,
it kind of came and went. And I tried it and didn't really like it that much.
Yeah, no, I definitely get you on that. Super Mario Brothers Wonder.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing game that, like, that is one of the great 2D Mario games of all time. Like the whole Wonder system where how it like completely almost changes the level, how you have to traverse it and everything, and and then just even playing the levels before that are like really good, and then some of the challenge levels are insane on that. So Super Mario Bros. Wonder for me is up there, and then Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, obviously the highest selling freaking Mario Kart, whatever, highest selling game on the Switch, no doubt. The DLC levels, awesome that it got all that DLC content. Also, I forgot to talk about it, but does it diminish Mario Kart 9 that it was being developed for Switch 1 and they essentially just kind of put it for Switch 2? Or
no, because it shows like it's not just some cash grab, or it's not just some cheap expansion pack. Like they want to expand the world, pardon the pun. So yeah, need a more powerful console. Like what do you expect?
Yeah, I think also that's another thing too. Of like, I know people were talking about, oh, they screwed up and or this is why the graphics don't look that great on it, whatever, because it was actually. I'm glad that they finally came out and said that it was a Switch 1 game, whatever. It's like, okay, look, Switch 2 graphics are not out of this world amazing, but like
people really need to calm down the graphics. Like graphics being nice is good, but the gameplay or whatever the hell they're doing is better.
Yeah. All right. What's your like? I guess 3 and 4.
My number 4 was The Tourist. And number 3 is Mario Odyssey.
All right, we share one there. Mario Odyssey
Tourist,
is my number 2. Yeah, I completely like. Okay, so what is The Tourist about, people? Because I completely forgot.
It's like a voxel adventure game or platformer where you wash up on this island, or like a tourist, literally, and there are like little islands, and each island has like a bunch of activities for you to do, like playing an arcade game or jump roping, or it just looks like an interesting game. I think you're trying to I beat it. You're trying to find these 4, not like shards, but these 4 power things that are in these dungeons basically. But yeah, it's a cool little game.
All right, fair enough.
And they ported it to other consoles later on, but yeah, the Switch is what I played it on first, and I think I reviewed it. So
yeah.
What about your 4 through 3?
Yeah, this got difficult for me because I definitely had like a 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And then I was like, where am I putting the other 2 that I really, really enjoyed in here? Right. I would say that my now I can't I need to look at I had it in my head. It's one of those where you're sitting there say it in your head. And Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze is my number 3.
Okay.
Like I picked it up a few years ago when it was like on a $40 or it's my number 4. I'm sorry. It's like and that game is awesome. It's like everything you want in Donkey Kong. Definitely would buy this over the new like retro collection one that they came out, which is like the one that just came out like this year, the Country HD or whatever. Definitely would buy that instead. And just because I love the game so much, I want to give it props. Death's Door is an amazing game that you can go play on Switch. Yeah, you can go play on other stuff too, but it's perfect for handheld. It's not like graphic intensive. And it has a bit of the Dark Souls like combat-y stuff with like a weirdish story, and I just love that game so much. Like it was one of those games I was not expecting to like so much, and then I ended up loving it. It was my game of the year of 2021. So yeah, that's my number 3. I already said what my number 2 was, which is Odyssey. What's your number 2 and 1 there?
My number 2 is Metroid Dread.
Yeah, I was waiting. I knew that had to be on here somewhere.
Since they finally made a good Metroid, it took them 20 years.
That's a fantastic, and it's like crazy because like Mercury Stream just came out with a game that didn't do so hot, and then like Dread is fantastic. So it's yeah. What's your number 1?
Fire Emblem 3 Houses.
I knew it. I was being very surprised that that wasn't your number 1.
Right.
Yeah. Are you surprised they've gone this long without doing another Fire Emblem like that? Like just regular?
No, because they seem to like for the other franchises, they still seem to like make like one game and that'd be it. I mean, they made 3 Hopes and that was cool.
Yeah.
That wasn't like Fire Emblem at all, but it was still actually pretty good for like this type of game. And they made that Fire Emblem Engage, and that was not good. Or it was, I mean, it was passable, but it was
that has a very mixed reception. Like there's people that really love that game, and there's people that just don't.
It's overly complicated, and it's missing a lot of the charm and the characters that Fire 3 Houses has.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they do still kind of replicate like the house, like the school, but it's just like your regular base.
Yeah.
But it's just not. Yeah, it's just missing the charm of the three houses. But yeah, that's a great game. I mean, I own a sealed copy of that thing, the special edition. So,
fair enough.
Yeah, it's quite good.
I think everybody can figure out what my number 1 is. Xenoblade Chronicles 3, the best of the Xenoblade Chronicles games, without a doubt. Has an absolutely ridiculous story. And that DLC that they added, which is essentially like an expansion that just explains a lot of the other story things missing and ties all the numbered games together, is also fantastic. But like 3 has maybe not like, I still love 2's characters a little bit more. But 3 definitely has like the best cast overall, the best story overall. Some of those moments made me like shed tears. The best combat in the series. Just like the best world to explore. And it's ridiculous that game runs on Switch. Absolutely ridiculous that game runs on Switch. Like, okay, 1 was originally on the Wii. It's remastered, or whatever you want to term it, like remade, remastered-ish. 2 or Chronicles X is from the Wii U. There's a little bit of magic that they did with that game. That obviously that is the most open world of the open world part of the game, and that's ridiculous that runs on Switch as well. But like, and then 2 was a launch game, and there was obviously problems with that game. They had to do a lot of patching that was a launch window game for the Switch.
Right.
But 3, like for it to run so well and be so big and do all the things that it's insane how like Monolith Soft is just so good at making this work on an underpowered system. Obviously, you know, they help with making Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom work as well, but it's just like they have this magic that they run on the Xenoblade series that is incredible. They're supposedly working on another game that's not Xenoblade related, that maybe that's going to be one of the mystery games shown off at that June Direct. They've been working on it for a while, so we'll see. But I wonder what the next Xenoblade game is going to be in that series. Now that officially like this arc of the Xenoblade is done. Also ridiculous that we've had this many. We've actually had 2 Xenoblade games in the time that we've had. When did Kingdom Hearts 3 come out? Was it like
2017, 2018?
Okay, so we've had 1 Kingdom Hearts game in the time that we've had 2 Xenoblade games and a remaster.
2019, sorry, but yeah.
Yeah. So there's that as well. But all right, that's part 1 essentially of the Switch. We'll look at more of like everything Switch 2 next week, like some games we might think get announced at that Direct. Like what I'm most looking forward to with Switch 2. You know, what we know it's going to be the launch lineup, that kind of stuff, like what's coming in the Switch 2, all that. We'll talk about that next week. Let's go ahead and finish the show out the way we usually do here with the games that are coming out now that we're officially and also next week we'll officially be in June. So another month will have been completed here for us here in the podcast, or for, you know, our whole everything. We're getting into the showcase season with June with the release of Switch 2. Then we got Summer Game Fest, the Xbox thing. I guess Ubisoft's not doing anything because you know, whatever. I also should have mentioned that Nintendo is also releasing 4 Game Boy games on the Switch Online. Gradius Interstellar Assault, Kirby Star Tracker, Survival Kids, and Sword of Hope. So Survival Kids, like a new version of Survival Kids, I don't know what that is coming launch with the Switch, or launch window, right? So that makes sense why this is coming. And then always good to have another Kirby game. Gradius is always never a bad thing. I don't know what Sort of Hope is.
I've heard of Gradius. I haven't heard of any of this other crap. So
yeah. Kirby is like the Kirby game is like another Tetris type game. So there's that. As far as what's coming out this week, we have the AI Limit. That's another one of those like China Project games that this has got a bit of Dark Souls combat in it, with more of like an action-y flair. I guess you could say sort of more like Berserker Kazan. The way that game went. So there's that, but it's obviously nowhere near as good as Berserker Kazan. So take that for what you will. There's also a demo out on the PSN store, so I would say try it out there before you just go drop money on it. Cattle Country, another one of those like farming sims, also comes out the same day that I keep seeing like pop up in my feed. To a T comes out on the 28th. That's going to be on Game Pass, and you can buy anywhere. That's the newest like Annapurna joint game. The newest Fuga Melodies of Steel 3, the furry RPG, that is also coming out on the 29th for PC. Nice Day for Fishing, which I just talked about on the show today, is coming out for PlayStation, PC, and Switch on the 29th as well. Spray Paint Simulator's coming out on 29th, which that's also coming to Game Pass. Xbox with their love of simulator games. And Elden Ring Night Rain is coming out at the end of this month here.
Yep.
You're officially not getting it, right? You're not.
I doubt it because Jens is he's not really interested, and it's a co-op only game. So
I'm surprised he's not getting it just to like play with you, since
it's because it's 3-player co-op.
Oh right, yeah. So it's like it's either you play solo or you play with 3 players. But don't they let you play with like randos, or you have to have?
Yeah, but we don't want to do that. Or
Okay.
there's like one other guy that Jens could invite, but he's in Germany, literally, and he has
yeah.
off hours.
Time difference there. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's actually up most of the time. We're up anyway, but still, like, it's not great.
Yep. And speaking of Switch, the Disney Illusion Island Switch game, which was really good, is actually coming to other platforms now on May 30th. So
cool.
You're having that nostalgia for that Disney Mickey like jumping around. You can do that. But all right, that's it for the episode today. Go check us out if you enjoy what you watched or heard or whatever. You can definitely go check us out on podcasts or just subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you follow, like, subscribe, all that, you get to know when we do an episode. We'll be back next week with our look at Switch 2, whatever other news is coming on. If as long as the Switch 2 doesn't get delayed,
right,
maybe I'll do the thing on Saturday where I talk about it, like first impressions and all that kind of stuff. If not, I'll just wait till we do the show the week after. But all right, so see you later, everybody.
Later.